Good afternoon, and thanks for the introduction there. That's a great title we have that's working to go and do our presentation with here. I was asked about having a clicker to move forward these slides, but as my colleague Danny in the back will attest, I got my Surface Pen, and there's some great stuff in that you can. Oh, there we go, do that. So we'll test the distance here for this.
Do that again.
We can go back. So you hold it and it goes back, and then you click. So there you go for the Surface Pens instead of clickers, although the name clicker is such a great thing too, right? So, but anyway, as mentioned, my name is Kevin Heldt, and I am on a team, we're the Global Black Belt team. It's a little embarrassing sometimes, but it's a great name. We were just described, and it's on sort of the different focus areas inside of Microsoft and the solution areas there. So as you can see, also I'm based in New York, so I cover a lot of really financial services, manufacturing, I focused in media, so a plethora of industries that I've done there. A little bit about me. So I have worked, that's a little blurrier, my LinkedIn profile, I just snapped that before we came up because I saw the great resumes of folks that were doing that, so I went to LinkedIn with Microsoft stuff. And so I have a Google background, ex-Googler, as well as some other thing. I grew up in California, and some startups and other working things that are part of my history there. So just a little bit about me. And what we want to really kind of focus on and talk about today is this digital automation opportunity, right? And it is a big opportunity that everybody is very, very interested in for a lot of great reasons, as we can see right here with some great statistics and a really big number that is the investment for moving forward with these digital type projects in the next 2 to 3 years. So those are some really big, great opportunities to transform companies, industries, all those things that are near and dear to all our hearts here. There is some issues happening with some of these particular transformations. A lot of these programs are failing. So at rates that we can see with some other examples for this, and not that theirs has failed at Ford, from the quote from William Ford Jr., but just to show sort of what's at risk if these do fail, because they are in the middle of one. They're one of our customers, we're working with them, but as you can see from his quote there, a lot is at risk, right? So they'll be a very different company, completely different in 10 years, or they'll be in a place they really don't want to be, which is a low margin assembler of other folks' technologies. So that is a lot at stake there, right? So a huge difference for the opportunity that's there. And some of the sort of root causes that we have, whoops, that built a little too fast, there we go, my Surface Pen. Some of the root causes, as we can see, are just all over the place for different reasons, from slow processes to culture to no focus on customer when you're trying to do this, to not having the right things in mind. So there are many different reasons for all of these components here. And what I wanted to sort of really talk about today is how we can bring strategy and alignment, business agility, collaboration to kind of come together for our framework of putting together a solution for how we can help to have a holistic framework and having these digital transformation projects succeed. And I'm going to actually show some of the tool things. I want to do some demo stuff as well. So I like to do risky things with my Surface Pen in moving my PowerPoint, and also do live demonstrations when we can. So I think that makes it a little more fun and active as well, to show how our solution kind of builds some of the pieces from, in fact, getting from a strategy to an outcome, and the pieces that we have in between there for what those will be. And so what just kind of the basis for what proper digital transformation strategies really enable companies is to invest intelligently, right? So at the highest level for portfolios or programs that we want to do, and really drive those through so they translate those strategies into results, to make sure that you can use any methodology that you'd like to, if that's traditional methodology, or more than likely also definitely in an agile or a hybrid world for being able to have the tools that can work the best, and then also have a way to put some structure and governance around that piece too. We know that also this framework needs to have a an infrastructure to be able to collaborate on those things across the board and globally, and then also work using a simple design. And then really probably the most important is to be able to drive that innovation, right? That's why a lot of these digital transformation things are happening there for us to be able to succeed those. So drilling into the first notion here, this notion of ideate, which is sort of a weird, strange term, but from our perspective, it's to be able to establish standards and governance so I can manage those particular transformation projects or programs that I'm trying to do. How do I translate that strategy into actionable goals? The business of capturing demand, and then ultimately that ideation page right there, or sorry, ideation capture right there is how that would happen. And so for us, some of the tools that we have on sort of are via apps. So folks are familiar with desktop tools. We have those same tools that run on our apps for our phones and our mobile devices there, and also in sort of a web page with that. There's a lot of different places that folks are using these tools. And so how do you really kind of capture and do a lot of those things? And so one of the things I'm going to break out of demo mode here, or sorry, PowerPoint mode. And so with the notion of, and this is going to refresh just a second here, with the notion of, we know that there's a lot of different places that these ideas or that these proposals or that these projects come through. So what's kind of a big picture way that we can take a look at this? Usually this is a lot faster, but anyway. And so what we can start with at the top level is a portfolio view, right? So how do you know, and we have some nice kind of tools here that we can provide at the beginning for the different portfolios of things. I can mouse over and get some nice information from this piece, but I can also, as a person that owns a budget or a portfolio, I can take a look at that and see where things are in the different pipeline pieces and components here. So the most of the costs are in the execution or the final stage for that. And I can drill in and look at the different individual components that make up those different areas there. So tools to really be able to take a big picture view and see where we're getting a lot of that demand, where we capture that, where that comes in from. That's all information that can be sort of ascertained and looked at here. So when someone does come in, and if they're doing it on a tool that fits into one of these processes here, or if they're doing it in an outside tool, they can, and these are some enterprise templates that we have. This can be any notion or sort of any type of tool that you'd like to put in here, but capturing that and having it inside our system allows us to really be able to take a holistic look at that and show that piece right there. Another big component when we're talking about being able to, manage these different proposals and programs is to have a way to establish governance there. So here is something that's part of a program that you can see has a nice sort of step workflow process, and I can drill in and take a look at that. I can also see where we are in the individual details here. Now, this happens to be an execution phase, so this doesn't have to be in a waterfall model. This could be executed with an agile approach. We can be using all these different great tools, Kanban boards, all these other things, and can fall into how we're executing that. But we still need to have the data and the location of where this stuff and where these components are here for this. So tools to be able to capture and build the different workflows and the different areas for what we want to do to be able to track our demand that's coming in for that piece. And so here's a different list of things that we can sort of integrate with on our tool set here. And what they are is sort of the workflow tools. We have something that's, we've rationalized our workflows over the last year or so to something that's called Microsoft Flow. So that's how we built kind of that visualization and that piece that's on there. But as you can see, we can connect to all sorts of outside systems if those are application development systems that are using something like Jira. Or other systems that are doing business and finance type things like SAP. So those are all sort of, we have the ability to kind of capture and integrate with all those systems and do those things here. So kind of the next step that we talked about here is setting up a planning motion for this here, right? So we want to be able to take a look at high-level portfolio planning. We had that visual that captured all that stuff. So how do we prioritize those things, and some tools to be able to prioritize those components right there. How do we select the right things and programs to invest in and work on for that piece? How do we really build the great work breakdown schedules or agile plans that we want to be able to deliver these things for? Also managing resources, so not just people, but cost resources in the right way, and also the larger program pieces for that here. So we have a place where you can do all the strategy decisions by portfolio. So again, I'm going to hop over to sort of a live demo here. Yep. And with that, one second. I need to hop out of that edit mode and hop into demo mode. There we go. Is this right? Yes. Okay. Here we go. So what you can see is our tools and solutions allow for being able to set up different portfolios. So if that is a different line of business, then they can set up a different portfolio, and we can drill in and take a look at what those constraints, whether it's resources or costs or whatever it is, to drill into that component there. And as an example, here is sort of the tool that we have, and we have a particular set of things that are a part of a program that have been selected that we want to do some evaluation on. And so what we can do is we can look at and set different constraints there for that piece. So we can set a baseline constraint with a baseline budget, as an example right there. I can go in and have, as an individual executive committee person or a whole steering committee, I can go in and I can kind of adjust these different things to talk about some what-if analysis if I need to force some things in or force some things out. And then I can also go in and I can change budget. So I can type it in right there, or I can have some preset items. If my budget changed by about $2 million, then based on our business objectives that were right there, we would have the tool to be able to kind of help us make some different decision-making components right there. And we can go in and we can kind of live update ad hoc these models that we built. So I can look at kind of the different baseline models. So there's a $6 million budget, there was the baseline budget. I can add different things, and so I can real time sort of go in and take a look at how I can compare and select different things to work on for those components there. Very good. The other thing that we talked about is once we sort of select those things to work on, is being able to have a flexible approach. So not just manage things in traditional ways, but be able to have different views for different things. So an agile approach, Kanban style board. So our tool hosts and lists where you can drag things around. I can keep track of different sprints. I can integrate with different systems, and all that rolls up to the exterior system for those pieces right there. And I can keep track of that all here, or in my app on like a mobile device or something like that here. So I can see the different things in all different formats for that piece. So I can do evaluation in my browser, on an app, or whichever way I'd like to do that. Okay. And then sort of the final stage is the execution phase for this piece here, right? And so how do we get in and get things done for our holistic solution here? And what we see is that you need to build these efficiencies around the teams that work on those programs and projects right there, and how do you provide those tools? And then also be able to assess the impact of that work that's going on, provide additional visualizations that you can look at and share out for those things, and then also really be able to look at what's happening inside of your portfolio. And a tool that we have that sort of enables that is something that we call Microsoft Teams. And so, whoops, that was PowerPoint there. So with Microsoft Teams, you can sort of quickly see I can be a part of a bunch of different channels that are right here on the left-hand side if I'm invited or I create my own channels. And then I can also have different tiles of content that reside in here that pertain to the particular things I was looking on. So I was looking at managing a particular portfolio or program here. And so I have some nice information that pertains right there. And I can see that it's me that's here. So I've logged in here, and I can share this out with team members. I can add other folks, and I can add sort of a work breakdown schedule that's going on here for these things. I can add particular files for this stuff. So I can do all sorts of views and really kind of encourage ad hoc teams, threaded discussion sessions, all these things to kind of enable that collaboration there for that piece. I can also keep track of, if I was looking at financial data or information, that can plug right inside of a Teams tab right there. Additionally, I can also do the ad hoc work for that kind of Kanban style and drag things around, and then that rolls up to the environment that we have there as well. Yep. And some nice, so you can see some Scrum Kanban approaches there. So that all drops in and rolls up so we can keep track, we can do budgets, we can do all sorts of great things that are going on right there. And then so, at some point, I can drill in then, and I can take a look at some real specific information that's inside of my program or portfolio, so I can get down to kind of at the project or work item level, and folks always seem to really want to go into the troubled maybe or on-watched components that we have going there. So I can drill in. Whoops, I did exactly the opposite of what I wanted to do there. I did it on track. So let's do on-watch and trouble. There we go. And so I can take a look at that. The numbers update. We have some nice information that I can drill around with looking at timelines to keep track of associated information around projects, the costs that are affiliated with each one here for this, and also some other views if I had issues, risks that I can drill into. So some really nice kind of dashboard, scorecard. This is all sort of a solution that comes with the project, and you can customize this to be able to look at these different views and whatever it sort of pertains to you. There's other project detail pages that we can look at and other sort of resource management type things. If I wanted to look at my resource or cost availability there, I can get to some heat map components there for that. And again, this all works just on my mobile device as well here too, so I can take a look at this all over or wherever I'd like to do this thing here. Okay. A couple final areas for thought here on this holistic solution is definitely in this day and age, security is a crucial part, right, for each of these systems here for this. So being able to have encrypted content and data across the board. This is part of our M365 solution that you get automatically there, so you can protect all your content at risk or in motion there for that. You can enforce security policies, all the things that we would want to have that are top of mind to give you peace of mind for those items. There are a bunch of different standards that aren't all listed here. Things like GDPR, which is important in the European Union and really the whole world right now with the testimonies we saw this week on Capitol Hill. So these are all good levels of compliance and components that are part of the system that we have and the solution that we do here for this. Looking at sort of some areas that kind of are the next area for portfolio program management type solutions are really sort of to be able to do artificial intelligence on portfolios and components like that. So really predictive analytics, so taking what has been a successful data set for projects or solutions or programs and being able to apply those data sets and make predictions on those things. Also maybe perhaps building bots so you can have an interactive experience or something like that. I'll admit I wasn't so certain when I first heard about that solution going on there, but we actually have, this is a partner solution, but this stuff could be built in as a really good example of PM Auto, that is an interactive component or solution that can give you updates on any sort of portfolio, program, all those things that you need to optimize your business right there for those pieces there. So just kind of a vision, and these are actually things that are there now that we also have for customers to do that. Just kind of summarizing there for that piece for our digital transformation vision for Microsoft. It really allows our customers to engage deeply, to empower their employees, transform their products, so not just cost savings, but definitely the top line revenue options for those items as well, and also do cost savings with optimizing the operations there for those pieces there. And with that, I wanted to share a video here as well. So we had a look at the beginning with Mr. Ford for talking about the risks for what would happen if we're not successful in our digital transformation projects and those components. Here is another case study of a customer that we have, Austin Martin, another automobile car company right here, that are using some of the tools here. And so this is kind of showing some of the digital transformation processes in place. So wanted to put this on and share this for the
We're a company that is focused on creating beauty.
Aston Martin has 104 years of history creating timeless, stylish, beautiful cars. We're recognized for cars that simply make you go, wow. We have a whole raft of new products that are coming out over the next 4 years that really change the face of who we are.
We called it the second century plan, a plan that would not only revive the company, but would also make it sustainable for the next 100 years. With the best tools in the industry, you can't help but be innovative. You can't help but be disruptive. In that collision, things are going to happen by empowering passionate people to change the whole tempo of the company and the culture of the company.
It's absolutely vital that we have amazing people using amazing tools and making sure all those people can collaborate really clearly. And we find Microsoft to be a great partner in helping people collaborate better.
Collaboration is a culture.
The only way that you can achieve things is through people, and if you don't communicate properly with people, then you can't build a car at the end of the day.
As we grow, we're having to change the way that we work. Office 365 is allowing us to communicate with people as if they're in the same office.
Technology really does help us to be efficient, to share documents, and there's no delay. We can both open the same document at the same time and talk through it together.
The core of designing the exterior of the car is a physical process, but we use the digital world really to translate that information to our engineering counterparts, to the production line, so that they can very quickly see where the ideas are. If we're communicating perfectly with the other departments, then it's a holistic view and approach, and everyone's aligned and everyone's working together. Without that, we get a beautiful sculpture that doesn't go anywhere. But together we produce something which is dynamic, looks beautiful, and we can manufacture within the facility.
As we expand, mobility has become increasingly important. We're looking to reduce the amount of time people need to travel. Using Skype for Business, video conferencing to support communication between our global offices, our remote suppliers, reducing the number of trips that people need to make while still fostering communication and collaboration.
It's sharing, so the more information, the more knowledge you have, the more creative input, the more I can share with my team, the better.
Data is one of the important assets of any car company.
We need to transform that into information and ultimately into insight.
We're using Microsoft Power BI because it can draw information from a whole multitude of sources, put it in a dashboard that you can then interrogate.
There's probably more data created every year here than there has been in the 103 years that preceded it. But in choosing Microsoft to help us with the cloud, what we're saying is that we think this is the best mechanism for protecting what we think is some of the most important intellectual property in the car industry.
This incredible journey that we're on, creating these new cars. We've experienced the power of the Microsoft Cloud. We're already working as a team with the collaboration tools that we get through Microsoft 365, and it's essential for the transformation of the business.
From the very first sketch to a car that is driving out of the end of our factory, there's just an enormous sense of pride.
As you allow tools to surface into the workplace, as you empower employees, as you give a clear vision for where you want the brand to go, then you start to see sparks.
Very good. So just kind of finishing a couple things up. You'll notice I'm not a product name person, and tried to not do that as sort of walking through our solution that was there. But we do have, folks like to always kind of ask if you don't say these things. So these are sort of the holistic solution of our Microsoft Cloud with our PPM solution, Dynamics. There's business process automation for these things. I showed a little bit of Teams there for that. So I try not to name those things to go through and show those, but those are kind of the back end for the cloud piece that shows that component there for that. And that's kind of the solutions that really enhance our PPM, business process automation components to really get to that digital transformation stage. We also saw some Power BI stuff for that. And so that's really the set there for that and the solutions. So I think I'm right at time. We're like a minute away. So
You're perfect. Kevin, round of applause. Thank you.